Commissioner Kallas, thank you very much for the energy that you're bringing to the process. And this forum itself, it's a clear manifestation about the political will and determination in the European Commission and throughout all EU institutions about the value of enlargement. You mentioned that all 5 rounds have brought more security, more prosperity, and more unity to Europe. But you also mentioned that this is not a simple process about adding new members. It's about rules, it's about democracy, and it's also about strong democratic standards. I invite you to sit here on the panel. The other 3 key takeaways that I took away, it's credibility, preparedness, and also enlarging the enlargement. I like that very much. So let's start with the first panel, which is really looking at the geopolitical imperative of enlargement, and the moderator of this session will be the Managing Director of Euroactiv, Romain Lachinot.
Is it working well? Yes. Excellencies, Prime Ministers, Ministers, Members of Parliament, dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Romain Lachinot. I'm the Managing Director of Eurocreative, the first think tank in France dedicated specifically to Central and Eastern Europe and therefore to EU enlargement. This is my great pleasure and my great honor to be there with you today and to moderate this first panel discussion named the geopolitical imperative of EU enlargement. And I have to say that I'm quite happy to moderate this discussion in 2025 and not a few years ago, because EU enlargement used to be not the most attractive topics in the EU. It's true that the mood was not so positive, and it's true that the perceptions about and the perspectives about EU enlargement were not really felt. And there was some frustrations in candidate countries as well as in the EU and its EU member states because we were not advancing well. But things have changed dramatically. And since 2022 large-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the perspectives are back. The EU enlargement is back on the stage and on the top of the EU's agenda. And today, countries from the Western Balkans, as well as countries from Eastern Europe, have clear, concrete and realistic perspectives of joining the European Union in the next few years. And this is why we still have many questions there, but there are some progress and we will make it together. Questions are, can we conciliate the current geopolitical momentum and a merit-based approach? Is EU enlargement the best tool and the only tool to ensure Europe's security and resilience in times of war? Can we collectively deliver the candidate countries, the EU and its member states to build together jointly a Europe that is more secure, more prosperous and more democratic? Those easy questions will be answered by distinguished speakers, and I invite you to join me in welcoming them. First, she is already on stage, Madame Marta Kos, Commissioner for EU Enlargement. Welcome again. His Excellency Milojko Spajic, the Prime Minister of Montenegro. Welcome. His Excellency Alexandru Munteanu, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova. Madam Kaja Kallas, High Representative and Vice President of the European Commission. And last but not least, Mr. Andrius Kubilius, Commissioner for Defence and Space. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here and thank you for taking the time for this very important discussion. It's great that we are here today to talk frankly, openly about the geopolitical momentum that has been built for the renewal of the EU enlargement. And I would like to start this discussion by saying that I see this panel as a very European discussion. We have representatives of the EU institutions. We see also representatives of candidate countries, well, from the Western Balkans, from Montenegro in this case, from Eastern Europe. And, well, a French moderator that will try not to struggle too much with English. So a very European discussion, I would say. But I would like to start this discussion, especially with the front runner of this EU enlargement, and with you, Prime Minister Spajic. As I said, your country is in the light today. You are with an ambitious agenda today, because you want to close, and you believe that it's possible to close negotiations with the EU by 2026, so by the end of next year. But we know also, and I said it briefly in the introduction, there has been frustration all over the region for years in the past. We know that, Montenegro has experienced the EU enlargement for a number of years, as well as the region, but things have changed. And now concrete perspectives are in the debate, are for you. So my question to you, from your perspective, from Podgorica, how is the momentum truly felt in the Balkans? And more concretely, has anything changed for Montenegro when it comes to political engagement and support from the EU? And how do you ensure that this momentum will not remain just rhetorical on both sides, on the EU side and on your side, to make sure that Montenegro will be a member state in the coming years?
First of all, hello everybody and good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me and having us here. It's a two-side process, as you just said, and we are very happy that things are speeding up, and on our side, absolutely the technical side of negotiations is extremely important, and we should never forget that we have some homeworks that we have to do, or actually, as a candidate countries, there's absolutely no fast track, and there's nothing that we can do about just saying, hey, we don't need to do the things that we actually we ought to do. That's not happening. So we have to do definitely we have to close all the chapters. We have to go through all the reforms that are necessary as a candidate states, and that is our task, and we take it very seriously. Also, we mentioned. We said many times that we are targeting closure of all the chapters by end of 26, and we mean business. The first time we said it, not many people believed it's possible, but I think now more people believe. I don't know if everybody, but definitely more people believe. Thank you so much. And I think it's definitely possible, and we are showing it with the commitment, with the speed of the reforms and all things that we do now. That especially in the last couple of months, that there was a definitely big pickup in the reforms that we are taking in Montenegro. So I think that the time is ripe on our side. We are taking every step very seriously. Yes, the speed is there. We need to do a lot by end of 26. But you know what? We don't want to see that because of the speed we underperform in the quality of the reforms. That's definitely not going to happen. We just want to speed up, and we don't want excuses why we don't want to do some things. On the other hand, it's encouraging to see the big support from the Commission, dear commissioners on the stage with us, and as well as the member states, that the momentum is there on the other side as well, that the people really truly believe that it's a ripe moment for the European Union as well to accept new member states. And this is that we want to take advantage of this. People oftentimes say, oh, a window of opportunity, I don't like that expression, because I think the windows, oftentimes there's a lot of draft and the winds can come in and out. We need a door of opportunity. We need the candidate states to be open, to have open doors. Obviously, they need to do the homework. They need to do what is expected of them. And it's not for the EU, it's for themselves as well, so that they can really truly and to the fullest extent, utmost extent, benefit from the EU membership. So we need to do this, and we are happy to do it. Actually, we are, as I said, we want to do it in a record time, by end of 26. This is not unprecedented. Many current member states have done it before as well. We've seen You know, I remember Slovakia or some other member states who have been very fast in developing in reforms when there is a political will for that. So I'm sure we can do that as well. And you know, we are very fortunate that we are moving ahead fast, and we see the great response from the other side. Thank you.
Maybe just a follow-up question on this, because I remember on the first days of the full-scale invasion, I was at a Balkan forum, and there was a lot of fear that this geopolitical momentum could be a problem for the EU accession of the Western Balkan countries. How do you feel about this now, a few years later?
Definitely, I think that you know, Europe has proven resilient. You know, many people underestimated Europe. When I say Europe, European Union, and many people thought that Europe will crash very fast. But you know, Europe is out there alive and kicking. And I think the enlargement and unification process of European Union is going to show to all the geopolitical foes that Europe will be stronger than ever. I truly believe in this.
Europe is kicking and alive, as well as Moldova. Prime Minister, I understand this is your first time in Brussels. So allow me to congratulate you on your recent nomination and to wish you best of luck for your future endeavor. When it comes to geopolitical momentum, I think it's undeniable from Moldova perspective that indeed it benefits to the EU progress, to the EU enlargement process. You obtained the candidate status back in 2022, so it's directly linked, we can say it. We know that the previous government in the Republic of Moldova, together with President Maia Sandu, had a specific political determination to make sure that your country can progress fast on the reforms and join the EU as soon as possible. The timeline of 2030 is a perspective that is discussed. We know that there is a lot of work, but this is the objective, and this is what you promised to your citizens during the recent campaign. But the situation for the Republic of Moldova is complicated, and we know it. On the one side, there is the war in Ukraine. There is also the situation in Transnistria, which remains reality for your country. And on the other side, we know also that there are some blockages within the European Union that can basically complicate the process for candidate countries, and it affects your country de facto as well. So what I want to ask you is, from Chișinău's perspective, is the geopolitical momentum sufficient to overcome those vulnerabilities and sustain rapid progress towards the accession?
Merci beaucoup. To support la francophonie, on peut. Good morning, everyone. That's not my first time in Brussels, but indeed, for the first time in Brussels in my new capacity. And I guess I will start with that. I'm old enough to remember the transformation of Europe in the last 30, 40 years. I will start probably with the fall of Berlin Wall in 1989 and the revolution in Romania. A few months later, which I witnessed, and then obviously the fall of Soviet Union in 91, and then the whole transformation of Europe. I was in Croatia because I was at some point associated with the Stability Pact on May 1st, 2004, and there was that feeling of a little bit of sadness because their neighbors just joined, and the Croatian accession to the European Union happened a little bit later. Quick forward, now we are facing a different situation, but in any case, I believe the European project, and because I lived through all those years, is probably the most successful geopolitical project since the United States of America were created. So I'm a big believer in the European Union. Now, as a citizen of Moldova, I've been very happy with my citizens' response to the new challenges, because obviously the whole world changed, and it started in 2015 with the annexation of Crimea, and then with the full-fledged war in 2022, and of course for the Moldova, which is just at the doorstep of this war, it created a lot of challenges. But I am proud of of the citizens of Moldova who actually 3 times voted for the unequivocally voted for the European Union accession despite all the interferences and, as Commissioner Kos mentioned, all the hundreds of millions spent by evil forces to deflect attention and to change the will of people to buy votes. Still, during the parliamentary elections, during the presidential elections, during the referendum, the Moldovan citizens clearly said that they are willing to be part of the European Union. Now, of course, we realize that it's a process, it's a merit-based, we have to do our homework, that's clear. Yeah, because Commissioner Kos explained this to us, and we are doing our homework. But I think it's and I like this term enlargement of enlargement you used, because I think it's our joint investment in stability in Europe, because we face a brutal war in Ukraine, no doubt about that, and that's a shocking experience for especially for our Ukrainian friends, and we need a response to all that. And I think the best response is to build its resilience and to invest in the future of Europe. And the enlargement of Europe is the best response we can come up with, in my opinion.
I think that Moldova is one of the examples on where the European Union and its member states have been able to transform a reactive power into an assertive power and to show that geopolitical role can be made. We remember, for example, the joint visit of President Macron, Chancellor Merz, and Prime Minister Tusk in Chisinau before the elections. We know also the investment, financial investments of the EU in Moldova. Some people say that it is not geopolitical role, but foreign interference from the EU. What do you answer to these people?
Well, you know, Europe is our home, and I think I never thought that during our lifetime we'll talk so much about resilience and security, but that's the fact now, and we have to take care of our future. And we just talked to a prime minister that Europe didn't think about defense before, but now we have to think about our defense, and it's in our hands. In the meantime, obviously, in case of Moldova, we are going through all sorts of reforms. I think the war at our doorstep is not an excuse to do judicial reform or to fight corruption, or you know, to grow economy. And we obviously we have to do all those things simultaneously in parallel. And but always keeping in back of our mind that we have a very unpredictable neighbor, to put it mildly, and that neighbor is not going to disappear overnight. It's not a fairy tale story when there will be a magician with a sort of baguette and the whole nightmare will disappear. It's going to persist, and we need a policy, we need a plan how we counteract all those evil actions.
Talking about unpredictable neighbor, I think that we can engage with Madam High Representative there and foreign policy and security policy. We know that the EU's enlargement is considered by many as the EU's most powerful transformative tool. We can talk about economy, we can talk about institutions, democracy, good governance. The list is quite large. But what about foreign and security policy here? We can see today that some of the countries have transformed. Some of the countries have a strong alignment when it comes to foreign policy with the EU. Moldova, again, is a good example. If we look at the trajectory of this country over the past 3 decades, right, since the independence, but we have also some challenges that we can only acknowledge. One of the challenges, obviously, is Georgia. I remember very well the presentation of the enlargement package, where it was mentioned that Georgia is a candidate only on paper. We know that Serbia is also a concern within the EU, or at least some member states, as well as some personalities, representatives from EU institutions, are critical towards President Vučić and its government's relationship with a country like Russia and China to some extent. Bosnia and Herzegovina is also a challenge. I would say we are not talking about one single foreign policy, but foreign policies there. So my question to you is, can candidate countries achieve full alignment with the EU before the accession? And how to deal with candidate countries with weak or selective foreign policy alignment?
Thank you. I mean, there was a talk of the opportunity window or opportunity door, whatever, but I think still, if you look in the history, it's clear that, sometimes these doors are open and then they close again. For a short time, they're open, but then they close again. And right now, I mean, the discussion is about the whys and the hows. I mean, today more about why. I think, enlargement is in no way a natural phenomena, but it's really a geopolitical imperative. And for us here on the panel, I mean, nobody has to explain why enlargement is necessary, but for our people in member states, we need to explain this. Why is it not only necessary for those countries who join, but also for us? I mean, Europe's physical geography has been, obstacle. We are trying to, overcome this by joining hands. There is also, different reasons of getting over the autocracies, having more democracy, all this. Now, we are coming to your question. We are in this really changing geopolitical world, or changing world. The world order is clearly changing and the shifts are there. So for us, it's very important also for the European geopolitical power, how many are we thinking alike? And that's why we ask from our member states also the alignment with our foreign and security policy, because that shows whether, in this very competitive world, whether you are with us in thoughts and ideas or you are not with us. So that's why we ask this from our member states, because we already struggle with, some member states inside a European Union that see these things differently. And why I'm saying this is that when we are not united, we don't have the geopolitical power that we should have if we are united. And that's why our focus on the unity is extremely important. That we speak with one voice when we come to the multilateral fora, when we see the world in a similar way, where the threats are, who is our friend, who is not our friend, how to build alliances, and on basis of what are the values that we are supporting, then in the world, this is extremely important for us.
And you mentioned the term window of opportunity, and I have to ask you here, especially about Turkey. We know that in this current strategic world, EU-Ankara relations are very important, are very strategic, but at the same time, the enlargement process with Turkey remains stalled, I would say. How do you see it? How can we advance with Turkey specifically?
Well, tying those two questions together, I mean, in the last enlargement report, the foreign and security policy alignment of Turkey has dropped from 6% to 4%. I think this is definitely something that we have to keep in mind. At the same time, it's also clear that in this changing world, we need Turkey on many aspects, and we need to cooperate with them. We have some positive, projects where we work. One is Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Turkey, and normalization of the processes, because it's also important for us, the connections, transport connections to Asia, all this. So there's a lot of areas of mutual interest with Turkey. Now, when it comes to enlargement, of course, Marta can talk more about the obstacles here. And if we look at the domestic politics in Turkey, these are not really aligned with the principles that we have in Europe, which is, democracy and freedom of speech and freedom of opinion and gathering. So this is definitely a problem. But we try to, balance on the interests that we have in those areas where we can cooperate with, also raising the issue of the values that are important for us.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kubilius, we talked already about stability and resilience, and we know that is one of the major goals when it comes to the EU enlargement. It is a clear benefit from the EU on this point for security and defense. You mentioned it publicly many times. You are a defender of enlargement as well. But I would say, or in my opinion at least, not many discussions focus on what candidate countries can bring also to the EU when it comes to capabilities, when it comes to strategic depth, when it comes concretely to defense cooperation, for example. Okay, we have the debate on Ukraine because it's already a political debate with many opportunities foreseen as well as a few risks already identified, sure. But for the other candidate countries, it's a bit difficult to find some discussions there. So, Commissioner, pardon my French, but how EU enlargement can concretely deliver on our objectives of European strategic autonomy?
Well, thanks a lot for a very good question. And I understand that really we have a very interesting panel here. We have Moldova, we have Montenegro, we have Estonia, we have Slovenia, and we have Lithuania, and we have French. So, and we shall convince you on everything. Because really, some of our here panelists are really striving to become members of EU. We had that experience, and you can see really what does it mean enlargement for European Union. Well, Estonians, Slovenians, and Lithuanians now are responsible for very important, policies of European Union, and that is what I would confess. I was not dreaming about that when we were entering European Union. But it happened. Now, really, when we are talking about enlargement, sometimes we are concentrating very much on what does it bring to candidate countries, and definitely a lot of success. Yes, there are a lot of questions, technical ones, how to go through negotiations and things like that. And usually, really, from one side, candidates really wish to join. And we are thinking, okay, maybe we shall grant them this, possibility because we are nice people. But, we are granting, they are, getting. But, and then we have some doubts, really, to give or not, maybe that will bring a lot of problems. In my view, we need to start to discuss, in some way, different. First of all, I would like to thank candidate countries that they want to join us. And really, that is very important because not all the candidate countries are able to keep that wish, forever because of hybrid threats and things like that, and so on and so on. Second, I would like to elaborate a few, sentences on really a very clear message which we need again to have in our mind. Enlargement is a vital interest for European Union, as it is now. And that is what we are forgetting. Or we are saying, okay, Europe will become more stable, more nice, more bigger, more influential, and so on and so on. I would like to stress two, very clear points, which are related also with your question about our autonomy, but also, very much related with, in general, what kind of European vision we have, not only of European Union. And sometimes I'm, dreaming that exactly France could come with grand narrative of the future of Europe. President Macron likes to bring sometimes those grand narratives, and I think that in some way, we are lacking that. What kind of grand narrative? Really, first of all, why enlargement is such a vital interest for us? Because of a very simple reason of security and defense reason, when we're talking about Ukraine. Now on the European continent we have, two battle-tested armies. Russian battle-tested army, which is much stronger than it was back in 2022, and Ukrainian battle-tested army. And when our intelligence services are saying that, Russia can be ready to test Article 5 during the next 3 or 4 years, so my question is, are we ready to face battle-tested Russian army? And that is why I'm saying, well, it would be a big historical mistake if we shall not have on our side very well integrated Ukrainian defense capabilities. So that is one reason. Second, again, this grand narrative question. How we foresee longer-term future of European continent. Are we ready to live forever with, threats coming from authoritarian, aggressive Russian regime in our neighborhood? Or we are looking how we can try, at least to try, to transform that situation. Of course, that will not happen with Putin or Lukashenko in power. But what can change situation in that part of the European continent? In my view, first of all, success of candidate countries which are now aspiring to become members of the European Union. Success of Ukraine, success of Moldova, success of Western Balkans can have major impact on, as an inspirational, example, to the societies in Russia, to the societies in Belarus, and that is how things can start to change. How that success can be created? Only through enlargement. There is no single example on the European continent when post-Soviet country, staying alone, without going through enlargement, would be able to create a success of itself. So that is why, in my view, if we have the question how we can bring really sustainable peace on the European continent, which depends very much on how things will develop on, let's say, southeastern side of the European continent, the only answer is, first of all, really through enlargement, through creation of success. We are three of here, Slovenia, Estonia, Lithuania, were exactly example of how that success was created. And the question is, are we going to, to this geopolitical imperative? And do we really understand that enlargement here is a vital interest of the European Union when we are talking about longer-term perspective of sustainable peace on the European continent? I think that I convinced even French.
I am convinced. But I'm a French interested in Central Eastern Europe, so it's a bit specific. But let me just follow up very briefly on one specific question, because given your portfolio, it's important, I think, to ask concretely about this. We know that you work on very important defense initiatives today. Do you see a way to integrate candidate countries specifically and concretely in those defense initiatives, such as the European Defence Fund or the SAFE mechanism?
Well, there are, instruments which now we are starting to implement, and where, for example, Ukraine, because of her both significance and her experience, are very much featuring in those instruments like safe loans. We shall see very soon, in 2 weeks' time, how many European Union member states who took safe loans are also going to share those loans with Ukraine. That is what is written down into regulation. Second, again, very soon, perhaps from the new year, so-called European Defence Industry Program will start to be implemented, which again has the whole chapter on Ukrainian defence industry integration with European ones. And the same, of course, we are looking also to other candidate countries, and that is where for example, we recently had very interesting discussion with Western Balkans defence industrial people back in European Parliament. And it's really, here are quite a strong potential which can be useful if we shall integrate ourselves much more into some kind of what we can call European Defence Union. Again, that is what is in our agenda, to develop some kind of concept of European Defence Union, which could exactly open the doors for integration of the countries which are today candidates to the European Union, but which very soon can become real members of the European Union.
Thank you very much. Yes.
If I may add to that, is that we have the security and defense partnerships with Moldova and Albania and also North Macedonia, and working on also the security and defense dialogue with Montenegro. So we are trying to, really build the partnerships that are really beneficial for both parties.
Thank you very much. We are approaching the end of the first round of questions, so I'm looking at you, dear audience. Be prepared. A bit later, sir, we will have a next question, but I saw your hand. Be ready with some questions. I will come back to you very soon. But now, back to Commissioner Kos. I have to say that I was very tempted to ask you the 1 million question. Can we conciliate geopolitical momentum and value-based approach? But I think, during this discussion and during your speech, you already answered that. Yes, we should, and yes, we can. So I will try to take another way to ask you this question. And I would like to bring the concept of gradual integration into the discussion, because I think it's an important dimension. It is also, to some extent, we have to say, contentious topic, especially in the public debate, with these debates, is it a delay of enlargement or not? But in the same time, we've seen over the past few years, and especially during this geopolitical momentum of the EU enlargement, that it brings something concrete. It brings positive results, especially because it's a clear way to make progress along the process, right? And so what I would like to ask you is, basically, is the gradual integration the link between the geopolitical urgency of enlargement and the unavoidable respect of basic principles and fundamentals? And in the same time, is it also a concrete possibilities to de-technolize or de-technocratize, I don't know how to say it, frankly speaking.
You should be careful now, yes.
Yes. The process, because it remains a very technical process.
You mean the accession process?
Absolutely. And to bring some political realities also for EU member states to feel that the momentum is now. We know that the momentum is there in Brussels, but we need to bring some realities also for those countries. How do you see it?
I see it as a very serious business. And sometimes, it takes really years that the candidates can align with our acquis. Some would call it technocrats. I would call it it's a mechanism which ensures us that once the new members will join the EU, they will enrich us and make us stronger, not weaker. Even Sweden has been on a very high level of economic development and the rule of law. Even Sweden needed 3 years to negotiate. So it cannot happen through the night. On the other hand, you have been mentioning the gradual integration, and this really means that the candidates can become a part of our European, if I simplify, European system in some areas even before. And this is a clear sign that we want to see them connected before. For instance, a great project, I was speaking about the energy integration of Moldova and Ukraine. Until the end of 27, Ukraine and Moldova will be 100% integrated in the European energy market. And we started this. It is also a financial project, but a very strategic and I would say a security project. With which we will ensure that Russia will not blackmail them, and with them also us. There are many areas also like SEPA, like roaming, so it is not a substitute for the membership. It is just giving a sign, especially to the citizens of the candidates, that the accession is real and is already happening, so no substitute. And I was also mentioning in my speech before a new art of gradual integration, and this is when we speak about protecting our democracies. You've been asking the Prime Minister of Moldova, if they see this as an interference. I get many questions, you know, is this what we did together, the European Commission and member states, if this is an interference? I would say not at all. You know, when, I don't know if there are some British citizens, but when UK decided to go out, we didn't dare to ask them to stay, because we thought that this would be an interference. I would love to have them back. Perhaps they will be a candidate again. But, you know, from this respect, it is not the interference. It is really protecting democracy in Europe. And thank you, Andrius, to bring in this grand narrative. You know, having you as a French, as a moderator, you know, probably you are very happy today, because with what we do today with the enlargement, we go back to what Charles de Gaulle actually wanted to have, a sovereign Europe or independent Europe. You know, when we speak, we are under attack, not just from the East, we are also under attack from the West. And we can succeed only, really only, if we bring the candidates closer to us wherever it is possible. Defense, it is happening now. Democracy shield, protecting democracy in the European Union means also protecting democracy in our candidates. This is our neighborhood. Or for the first time, we have adopted on the level of the European Commission civil society organization strategy. This is really strategic, because we need their help. Or we will develop media resilience plan. You know, me being a journalist, if somebody would tell me 20 years back, and we have many journalists here, also from Moldova, from our candidate countries, warmly welcome to all of you. We have to enable media to exist as independent, free media. You know, one of the lessons learned from Moldova is that the free media is a factor of national security. So this is what we are doing now. We didn't think about it years back. It was not a necessity. But it is not only because of the candidates, meaning protecting democracy is also inside the European Union. And doing this, if I say it romantically, hand in hand with our candidates, it's the only way really to protect us Europeans.
I fully agree, and I will make you a confidence, Madam Commissioner. I'm fully convinced. I'm also convinced by the political will of the Commission. I'm convinced when an Estonian, a Lithuanian or Slovenian talk about EU enlargement. But the reality is not just that. And there is also some member states who are silent. Is it about passiveness? Is it about opposition? My question to you, and it's a bit provocative, there is willingness from the EU side, institutions. There is willingness from most of the EU candidate countries to join the EU. Is there political will, or is there enough political will from the Council and the Member State at that stage? You talked about enlarging the enlargement. Is it yet the case?
Yes, we are working on this. When I say to enlarge, the enlargement is, you know, seeing enlargement just as enlargement is very narrow. And for me today, enlargement is much, much more. It's making Europe stronger. It's, you know, my going to the moon is the unification of Europe. The EU, the president was saying in the video, you know, in the sense of was established because we had 2 world wars here in Europe. And as long as we are having the European Union, there has never been a war on the territory of the European Union. It has been in Europe. And this shouldn't happen again. So this is what we are doing, securing the whole continent. You know, EU 27 has given a candidate status to all of the candidate countries. You're looking at me, yes. Also Hungary has given a candidate status, a green light for a candidate status for Ukraine. And this is the basis. And we should really, really talk about what is European solidarity. We should really talk about what is working together for the European future. You know, I'm taking the concerns of our member states very seriously. But the minority issue is not an issue when it's about the Ukraine. Even if it would be an issue, we could discuss everything in the cluster 1 under the fundamentals, meaning no country which is not respecting the rights of the minorities can join the EU. So simple is that. So taking the concerns seriously and discuss about it. You know, sometimes when I hear, yeah, no, it is not okay. Tell me what is not okay. Really, let's talk about the facts. People are saying that we cannot, that first we have to reform, and then can we take, let's say, Montenegro in. But you know, sorry, Mr. Prime Minister, you know how small is Montenegro? You know, sorry. I like Montenegro a lot, but you know, it is 1/3 of Vienna. It is like Toulouse. It is like Stuttgart. So of course we can take Montenegro in without big reforms inside. We can also include Albania with 3 million and Moldova with 3 million. So altogether it would be 6.6 million. You know, in 2004 we have been, together with us, 70 million. And we did it. So, once again, I take care about the concerns, but let's talk facts. And let's talk facts, especially in your country, France. And we need all of your support for the enlargement process. You can be pro-enlargement, but the majority of people is not. So help us, help me.
I will. But before that, we have to finish this discussion.
Yes.
Thank you very much for this positive and optimistic note. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your time to shine. Please raise your hand and be concise and mention who you are. I have one question here first, 2 questions here. I don't know how many we can take. Yes, there are many. So third, maybe 3 questions at the same time? Should I? Yes? Oh, sorry. Yes, true. Yes.
My name is George Robakidze. I'm the former Georgian diplomat and now the head of the EU Awareness Center, a Brussels-based NGO. Working 20 years on EU enlargement and reforms in Georgia, it's heartbreaking for me not to see the representatives of the Georgian government sitting next to their colleagues. Once a front-runner country, now turned into a free-falling in a democracy backsliding. So my question would be to the commissioners, is there any possibility to help further the Georgian civil society who is still struggling bravely for their European future? And it's slowly the time to go from words to the actions, especially take into account that recently was adopted the law concerning the visa-free regime stop. So there is the possibility now, without punishing the Georgian population, to sanction the Georgian government who is dragging their country back to Russian orbit. So, and then that would be my question, and then very small comment as well. So my sincere request would be to all our European partners, please don't give up on Georgia. Don't put the cross on Georgia. We are still there. We are still fighting for our European future, and you will still hear from Georgians that we will become back once as we were the front runners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The second question, please.
No. Do you hear my voice now? Great. Thank you so much, Roman. And, well, another Georgian speaking here, but as the question on the Georgia has been already asked, let me focus on the other points that I kind of lacked from the very comprehensive discussion so far. I'm Tina Khlediani, research fellow from the Center for European Policy Studies. And the questions I had is about, you know, especially Commissioner said, let's speak about the facts. The fact, as we see it right now, is that accession process to the east, Ukraine and Moldova, is currently stalled, and we know why this is the case, that, you know, one member state has been apparently blocking it, even though Commission has really advised to go ahead and open the chapter. So I just wanted to check with the panel, how is the EU, going to resolve this member state veto problem, which we know and are very well aware from all the stalled process from the Western Balkans. And very quickly, because we also have the Vice President of the Commission on board and the Defense Commissioner, just to check this fundamental question, as we speak about enlarging the enlargement, the question is, can the EU really secure its current union and all the candidate countries standing in line, particularly when it's about to enlarge to the east? If the enlargement is really credible, I think we need security, and it would be great to hear where does it stand, European Union, on that front right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A third question, please.
Thanks very much. I'm Ian Bond from the Centre for European Reform in London. First of all, thank you very much, Commissioner, for mentioning the UK. I too hope that one day we might be applying again, although it doesn't seem likely to be very soon. But my question is about the geopolitical imperative. I mean, I agree that enlargement is a geopolitical imperative, but every minute that we're sitting here, Russian forces are advancing further across Ukraine, slowly but inexorably. Can you call it a geopolitical imperative if we are allowing one of the major candidate countries to be gradually eaten away? What is the EU going to do to stop that happening? Not merely to slow the rate of advance, but actually to ensure that there is a sovereign Ukraine with control of its territory when it joins the EU.
Thank you very much. What I will do is that I will continue to collect a few questions, and then we will have just a single round of answer. It will be a bit of pick and choose. So focus on the questions you prefer or not. A few more questions. Yes, please.
Thank you for the floor. Strahinja Subotic. I work at the European Policy Center in Belgrade. We've been long champions of gradual integration, and we're happy to see that it's steadily progressing, but also the ideas that are related to post-accession, when the enlargement actually takes place. I'm addressing my question to Commissioner Kallas. I remember even during your questionnaire a year ago, you were mentioning safeguard clauses. Now this topic has resurfaced, because then I've been, together with my team, to 25 member states, and there is a serious concern about democratic backsliding upon accession, and on the other hand, about the potential dysfunctionality of the Union if the Union doesn't reform in the meantime. So my question to you is, can you illuminate us more about the safeguards you're proposing? And secondly, how would you reconcile the reservations by some candidates on these ideas? And Prime Minister Spajic himself mentioned that Montenegro, being the good pupil, wouldn't like to see any specificities that would differentiate its membership from other countries. And of course, it's not the only one who has reservations, while we should also give kudos to Prime Minister Rama, who even mentioned that he would renounce veto rights if necessary to express solidarity with skeptical member states. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a question just right here.
Julia Servan, Journal TV, Republic of Moldova. So I have 3 questions. Mr. Prime Minister, could you please tell us what are the main priorities for Moldova in the upcoming year? Commissioner Kos, what are your expectations from our government? And Commissioner Kubilius, you mentioned recently that in the next 2 or 4 years, Russia could test the security of the European Union. Could you please tell us how big is the risk for the Republic of Moldova, and Mr. Prime Minister, how we can cooperate better with the European Union to defend ourselves?
Thank you very much. I will take a last question. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amina Hadžić. I came from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I participate here as a young European ambassador of the Western Balkans. So, considering the current geopolitical tension, as we can hear from our panelists, in Eastern Europe, how can we and the EU ensure that enlargement process to the Western Balkans country contributes to regional stability instead of crisis, and rather to becoming the Western Balkans region a source of new tensions? Because also in Western Balkan we see Russian influence, especially in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because now we have country blockades because entity of Republic of Srpska, because they have pretty much Russian influence in the government of the entity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kubilic, we'd start with you. There has been a few directed questions, a few more global questions on security and defense generally. What is your take on those questions?
Well, first of all, yeah, a lot of very good questions to our friends from Georgia. I answer how we can help Georgia at the moment. I would say, first of all, with as rapid as possible membership of Moldova and Montenegro and Western Balkans and Ukraine into European Union, we can help also Georgia, because that will be a convincing argument that enlargement really is happening. And for quite a long period of time, some oligarchs or whatever we can call them, they were sending messages that forget about enlargement because it will not happen at all. In Georgia, in some other countries, and so on. So now we are able to bring very clear argument and evidence. Enlargement will happen. And Georgia can come back to this enlargement, of course, if the changes in Georgia will happen. Now, on the question from United Kingdom, on how we can really change the situation in Ukraine. Definitely, there are a lot of things which we are trying to do to help Ukraine, much more than we were doing till now. For example, this forthcoming reparation loan. I hope that it will happen. But definitely, again, we need to have, perhaps that still we need to understand what is at stake in Ukraine, and to have very clear strategic vision. What really we as Europeans want to achieve in the longer-term future, looking into the future of the whole European continent. I would remind that till now, yes, we as European Union were helping Ukraine quite a lot, more than United States. During 3 years, our assistance was around 170 billion euros. If you take into account military assistance, humanitarian and budgetary. Military assistance or defense assistance was around 60 billion per 3 years. The same with Americans. But if you recalculate into how much we're giving per year, so it appears that our assistance per year is around 20 billion euros, which is equal to our 0.1% of our GDP. We are, ready to invest into our defense 3.5%, but for Ukraine we're giving 0.1%. So that's the situation which I think we need to look how to change. And second, why, I'm asking myself why really our assistance to Ukraine is not sufficient to change the situation. I'm coming to very, at least for myself, to a conclusion that perhaps again, the deficit on our side of much more clear strategy on Russia is making us, not always efficient enough to support Ukraine. And again, I'm repeating that we need to understand that here is a question of what is the future of the whole European continent. Let's remind ourselves Brzezinski formula, that if Russia will have possibility to control Ukraine, Russia will always stay as an empire. And that will be a danger for all of us. If Russia will lose that control, maybe Russia can become a different country. And that will diminish the threats to us. So let's have much more clear, big narratives on how things can develop in Europe. And yes, question from Moldova on can Russia test? It's not my prediction. I was just quoting, forecasts or predictions from different European Union member states' intelligence services when they are repeating publicly now starting from German intelligence service, Netherlands, Denmark, Poland, and others, when they are saying that Russia can be ready to test us during the next 3 or 5 years, and that is what we need to be ready to defend ourselves. That is why we have all the programs which we call Defense Readiness 2030. We are investing a lot of financial resources, and we need to learn a lot from the same from Ukraine, how really to be ready to fight the war which Russia can wage against us.
Thank you very much. Madam High Representative, there were a few questions on foreign security.
Yes. First, I wanted to react before on what Andreas was saying, and on a personal note, just to understand how much we have changed. My father was the one who was doing the negotiations for the European Union. To join the European Union for Estonia, and now I'm on the other side of the table. So things happen, and also to complement what Marta was saying on the minority rights. Minority rights are defended and protected inside the European Union. So if you're worried, for our Hungarian friends, we have been stressing this, if you're worried about the minority rights, then, you should take Ukraine in, because then the minorities are definitely protected. Now, on the questions, on the security issue. First of all, the strongest army in Europe right now is Ukraine. So, if Ukraine is in, then we are all stronger in terms of security as well. Of course, that is very clear. And we are doing the things to trying to defend ourselves, to invest more in defense. And what Andreas said, I would add that, whether there is attack on or whether Russia is going to test us. Russia is invited by weakness. So if they think that we are not ready, if we are not doing enough for our defense, then they might test us. If we are ready, then they will not test us. I think this is the logic. And the thing is that, the defense, it is, the more we invest in defense and more ready we are, then the smaller the risk, actually. And that's why we need to do it. Of course, it is very hard to explain to our people because, in during the peacetime, that why we have to, invest in defense when we need all this money for, social, your roads, education, whatnot. But if you then don't have the security and defense, then, all the other things are at risk as well. And you need to invest in defense when it's peacetime, because when it's already war, it's too late. And if we are ready, then they're not going to test us. So this is I think two sides. Now on your question of the geopolitical imperative and Ukraine. This is what we are doing. If you look at the big picture, there are some forces in the world who are trying to say that, the easiest way to end this war is that Ukraine will give up and surrender and give everything to Russia that they want. But like Andreas was saying, it is feeding their imperialism, which means that, we might have a pause, but we will still have, more wars in coming years. So that's why our approach has been very clear. We are, helping Ukraine to defend themselves militarily, also financially, and humanitarian aid as well. We are doing the outreach for our partners all across the world so that they would also do it. And by the way, we will have the Foreign Affairs Council this Thursday, and previous one we also did the discussion with all our member states to do the outreach to help Ukraine also from the countries who are not usually supporting Ukraine when it comes to energy infrastructure, because what we see, Russia is really trying to destroy the energy infrastructure to cause as much pain to the civilians. So, if this is right, that 93% of Russian targets have been civilian targets, it's clear that it's not a military fight, but it's actually trying to suppress Ukrainian. And the other thing we are doing and continuing to do is the pressure on Russia. That's why we have, sanctions. We are working on the next package of sanctions, and now we are very intensively working on the shadow fleet. Again, in the Foreign Affairs Council this Thursday, we are focusing only on the shadow fleet, because we see that the tools that we have, sanctions, but also other measures on the shadow fleet, are really having an impact. And why I'm stressing this is that these are the tools that are in our hand, and we are sometimes overestimating the power of Russia and underestimating our own power, what we are able to do, and let's not do that. And we see Russian economies not doing well, and it is having an effect. The sanctions on financial institutions, they are getting into very difficult times when it comes to their budget, and wars also end when one party runs out of money. So we have been having a very consistent approach. Now to the Western Balkans. Yes, I mean, we are, especially Bosnia-Herzegovina, as the question was. I mean, we are all from our countries that are, also different nationalities, but we also have a European identity. And of course, it took some time to work with that. Now, when it comes to Bosnia, if you ask, then everybody says their nationality. But, I ask also, what is the Bosnia-Herzegovinian, identity that, is overcoming also the national troubles that are there. And now, my question is, of course, Marta is working with the enlargement, but my question regarding, the foreign policy and security issues is that how we can come to the point of discussing also in the Western Balkans all the atrocities that have been there, how we can move past that and consider how these things will never happen again, which means to overcome the issues in the past and focus on the common future. For Bosnia to advance also on the enlargement, I think this is one of the things that all the national groups actually agree on, the enlargement path. Okay, fine, let's take that and let's take the little steps you need to take on that path to also, overcome the differences that are between the different groups, and maybe we can proceed with that. So we are ready to help as much as possible to overcome that and move past the history and move to the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Munteanu. You have a question directly towards you.
Yes, there have been a few questions addressed directly, but I would dare to start with Georgia. I have many Georgian friends, and I've been in Georgia many times. I think spiritually, culturally, we are close, not to mention vineyards and our love for wine, which is important, part of our culture. So when my nomination became public, I got a lot of messages from my Georgian friends saying that now you are fighting for us as well. So I would fully support what Commissioner Kubilus said. Our success would be a best response to that interference in Georgia and their disappearance from the EU processes, which is actually a sad story, in my opinion, because Georgians are Europeans and they fully deserve to be part of this family, of this group, and I hope it's kind of temporal situation. And we need to help them, and we Moldovans will fight for them. I promise that, and hopefully they will be back. Obviously, from the security perspective, I guess what made them more vulnerable is the fact that they have a border with unpredictable neighbor. We are protected by Ukrainians, and that's why we help our Ukrainian friends and brothers in that brutal war. Now, speaking about the the direct questions I was asked about the priorities. Well, the three priorities are obviously first the European integration, all the harmonization, all the homework we have to do. Obviously, in the meantime, we are focusing on the economy, on the reforms, including the judiciary reform, territorial administrative reform, several other reforms, and the third, and not least, is obviously resilience and security, which was mentioned before, and I refer to the programs which been referred by my colleagues, by Andreas, by Marta, the Security Shield, and all sorts of other help we are getting from the European Union. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Spajic.
I think it's very important that we definitely don't underestimate a question of defense and in the peace times for our countries, and to kind of be able to understand that this is really an investment, not the expense or cost. I think it's really something that we have to explain to the people. So Montenegro, for example, I just came from Montenegro from the budget discussions. So this year, next year we'll have a substantive increase in the defense spending that is like way above our NATO commitments of 0.3% gradual increase per year, but it's way beyond that. So we take our role very seriously. Yes, we are by population definitely a small country, and that is a fact. There's absolutely nothing to. But I think, and I don't like saying that we are kicking above our weight, and then that we kind of flatter ourselves, because if you kick above your weight, you get kicked back as well. So you don't want to be on the ground. But I want to say that we want to lead by example. We want to show that we really commit. We don't want to be seen as somebody who talks a lot and doesn't really perform. What we want to do is exact opposite. We want to be leading by example, leading by concrete actions, and I completely agree that the people of Montenegro, of Western Balkans, of the Moldova, Ukraine, and other countries, Georgia, everybody else, they're just waiting for concrete examples. We've been in a vacuum of little action for like almost 2 decades or something like this. So we have to see the concrete action, the concrete on all sides. This is not a thing that we expect EU to move ahead and we're going to sit and wait. No, we have to move way faster. And I think people see that we are also moving ahead. And we also have to think about our economies as well. About the competitiveness of Montenegrin regional European economies. Super, super, super important. I think it is sometimes underestimated because of the talks about the geopolitics and defense. Of course, this is a cute thing, but we need to think about structural things as well. How to strengthen ourselves in a global environment. I'll just give one example, because I'm a student I studied in Japan actually in my undergrad. So, like Japanese oftentimes say this, and they are very focused on 1985 and Plaza Accord that happened way behind, and many people actually take notes from these times, etc. This is an event that had very little attention in Europe. Actually, this was a time when the currencies of United States vis-a-vis the European major countries, I think it was France, UK, and Germany present there, but also Japan and some other countries were actually. We see appreciation of these currencies, a depreciation of US dollar at that time. So it's actually a little bit similar to what's happening now with trade. So what happened back then, the biggest effect was seen in Japan, who had the bubble and the burst of a bubble and had like 20 years, they call it lost decades, after the economic lost decades. And one of the reasons why actually a lot of professors come out and say why that happened, they didn't have a cushion of a big single market. They didn't have they didn't have a lot of allies around them, and they didn't have a lot of things that actually Europeans did. So Germany, France, UK, they avoided that huge bubble in the 90s that Japan had. And this is on economic terms. And this is something that is a good argument for the unification of European continent and further enlargement, of course, on the basis of values as well. Like we have to see, we have to get together, not only based on the purely pragmatic single market. Yes, that's super important. But we have to come together on the value basis. We have to stand together as Europeans because as unified, we are only then, we are very strong. And we can, you know, people will respect us much more, and they will actually say, this is, you know, the Europe means business. Europe is really out there, and they won't underestimate us.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Kos, you have the final words.
Thank you. Dear Tina, thank you for following the accession process so closely. This is my call to action to all of you. We are not blocked in the accession process of Ukraine and Moldova. We are blocked in the decision-making process, but the technical part is going on, and hopefully soon the work in the working groups will be pushed, and then we could do the same as we would have done if all the clusters would have been open officially. And my message to Moldovans and Ukrainians is you don't need Orban to do the reforms, just do it. Then regarding the safeguards, I was talking about safeguards because first, it is nothing new. It also happened in the past, like in big enlargement 2004 on migration, on agriculture, like for Poland. But for now, it is very important, and I stress this a lot, and I will many times. I'm not for the second-class membership. I'm just for the way how to protect the European Union, that once we will get new members on board, we will be stronger, not weaker. In which sense, this is the discussion which will have to follow. The European Commission is now preparing so-called pre-enlargement review. It will come out in the next month, and then we will discuss also with the member states what kind of safeguards do we need. And as I have said in the speech before, those safeguards will be unnoticed as long as all the candidates, being a member, will fulfill their obligations and commitments. By the way, it's the same for the member states. And the safeguards will bite hard if the case will be the opposite. Julia, what do I expect from the government of Moldova to deliver? And Moldova is having a great chief negotiator, Christina, somewhere sitting here. So, Christina, we have already been discussing if Moldova wants to finish the technical part of the negotiations in 28, what needs to be done from tomorrow on. So we have really a good plan, and we will help. And the second part, what I expect from Moldova, is to really make the best out of the 1.9 billion growth plan. Amina, good to see you again from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Please, I really have trust in young generation. When I was there visiting all the parts of Bosnia, I have seen also the young generation in Republika Srpska wants the EU membership or EU perspective. Sometimes, coming from this area, I would really like to see that all people there are contributing to heal the wounds from the past. Why is this important? Because some politicians are again and again putting salt on these wounds, and they can't get healed. So we should work. On this also. UK, and Ukraine. What are we doing? There were some answers before. Just a small addition in the sense of that I see the EU membership as the political anchor of the security safeguards or guarantees. Meaning that that's why it is so important that Ukraine is having the EU perspective. And regarding the support for civil society for Georgia, of course, even if it's now very, very difficult because, the government is following really closely whom do we give the money. So we are now The money is there. We are now looking, and the money has been doubled, and it will be even more. We are now looking also, Tina, for the ways how to give them the money in the way that we will not harm their existence. For instance, last week I have had an exchange, a dialogue with the representatives of the civil society from all the candidate countries, and also a representative from Georgia. Georgia was here.
Thank you very much. It will be very difficult for me to conclude, so I will not dare to do that, but allow me to use 1 minute for a personal note on this. I'm from France, and enlargement is definitely not the best topic to tackle politically. Whether we like it or not, we can see it on the Eurobarometer. The results are not perfect. They are not terrible, but they are not perfect. It means that we can act. The problem is not about today's enlargement in France. It's about yesterday's enlargement. Because the great and the vast majority of our political elite has been fairly irresponsible politically when it comes to 2004 enlargement. Because today it's still a debate if it was a positive thing for Europe or not. Of course it is positive. Economically, democratically, geopolitically, at every level it is a success. Just travel to Central Eastern Europe. Just travel to the many countries that are present in this region. It's a success. The current geopolitical enlargement is about geopolitics indeed, but it's especially about collective responsibility. France has changed, at the leader level at least. Now, this is a call of responsibility. France supports the enlargement. Why a collective responsibility? Because this is the responsibility both of the candidate countries as well as the EU member states to make sure that we can succeed together. A responsibility for the EU member states because they have to deliver even if this is not favorable for their political individual interest. A call for responsibility in the EU candidate countries because this is their political future for the leaders which are at stake. If they succeed, they will win politically. If they fail, they will pay the consequences politically because all the population in these countries support the European future. And especially in the candidate countries and in the whole of Europe, our citizens are asking our leaders to make sure that Europe is more secure, Europe is more prosperous, and Europe is more democratic. So either we win together or we will fail together. This is about collective responsibility. I have to thank everybody, the organizers, the translators, and you, dear audience, and please join me to thank our distinguished speakers today for the fantastic discussion.
Well, thank you very much, Romain, for this moderating this excellent panel, really excellent. I got from this panel that security is not everything, but without security, everything is nothing.
Should we take a picture?
Will be great.
Yes.
But I think they are already gone.